to yet another exciting class. Today we are going to be looking at the government and the constitution. I still remain your teacher, Mrs. Ojamo. Every organization and society has certain rules and regulation which governs the behavior and activities of its members and citizens. Students have rules that guide their behavior at school. At home, our parents give us what? Rules that we must also obey. Therefore, a constitution are basic rules, regulations, and principles that governs people's behavior. The constitution of a country is a set of rules which guide a country in its lawmaking and public affairs. As a good citizen of a country, we are expected to respect and obey our country's constitution. There are types of constitution. We have different constitution in which a country may adopt: the written constitution, the unwritten constitution, a rigid constitution, and a flexible constitution. A constitution is said to be written if all the rules and laws which governs the country are written in one document, just one. Nigeria happens to be a written constitution. An unwritten constitution is that constitution where all the country's rules and laws are not contained in just one document. Instead, they are found in many documents. The Constitution of Britain and Italy are unwritten. The rigid constitution is considered to be rigid if it requires special procedures before rules and laws can be changed. That means for a country to change its constitution or its rules guiding the country, it must be done by someone, a constitution. Most written constitutions are rigid. For instance, China happened to be a rigid constitution. Then this brings us to the flexible constitution. In a flexible constitution does not require any special procedure before it can be changed. Yes, that means the president can decide to wake up one morning and change a particular aspect of the constitution because why? It is flexible. It is the opposite of the rigid constitution. And the United Kingdom happened to adopt this form of constitution. This brings us to the Nigeria Constitution. What constitution, therefore, does Nigeria operate with? The constitution that Nigeria uses today was written in the year 1999 when a new democratic government was elected by the people. The Nigeria Constitution grants powers to the executive, the legislative, the judiciary arm of government. It also grants individual rights to Nigerian citizens. The Nigerian Constitution describes the basic human rights that all Nigerians are allowed. The Nigerian Constitution also, as with most constitutions of other countries, adopt the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, which states that all people are born equal and therefore should have equal rights. That means your rights to live should not be different from the next neighbor. We are all having equal right to live. We also have rights of expression. The right of expression, everyone has the freedom to express his or herself. Whatever you think, you have the right to express it. We have right of association. Everyone has the right to meet together to form what? An association of their choice. We also have right to your opinion. That's right to opinion in Nigeria. People have the right to hold opinion and to tell other people what their opinion is. It is the duty of the Nigerian government to protect the rights of its people. It is also the duty of the government to uphold the law set out in the Constitution. And this brings us to what? To the government. A government is a group of people elected or appointed to govern or rule a country. All countries have governments which direct their country's affairs. However, all governments are not the same. Therefore, governments operate differently. There are different types of government or different forms of government. We have the autocratic form of government. And the autocratic form of government is that government which a single leader or a party has absolute control over all the citizens of the country. In an autocratic form of government, there are different types. Some of them are the dictatorship and the monarchy. A dictatorship is a government by a single person or group that is not responsible to the people or the elected members of the government. For a very long time, Nigeria was under the military dictatorship. This happened when the military officers overthrew the government in what was called a coup. The monarchy. Another type is the monarchy. It is a form of government which usually has a king or a queen as their head, as the head of the country. Most monarchs inherit the throne from family members, and their reign as head of state is for life. Not all monarchies are autocratic. However, a king or queen may rule alongside a democratic government. An example is the United Kingdom, where the late queen reigned. Democracy. Democracy is a form of government in which people have the power to elect their leaders. Yes, people have the power to elect their leaders. That means democracy, as it's been defined, is the government of the people, for the people, and by the people. That is government. There are different types of democratic governments, but we will be looking at just two in this class. We will be looking at the parliamentary government and the presidential government. In the parliamentary government, the democratic government in which the power to make and execute law is held by a parliament. What this means is the head of the parliament don't just make decision. A group of parliament make that decision. Yes, they form that parliament and the decisions are made in that parliament. A parliament is an ensemble of people who make laws and discuss the country's affairs. For instance, if we want to change Nigeria's currency, or the government want to change the Nigerian currency, the president will not just wake up one morning and decide to change the country's currency. He or she is supposed to what? Take his or her opinion to the parliament, to the assembly, and they discuss it. The United Kingdom has a parliamentary system of government. Yes, Nigeria also had a parliamentary system of government between the year 1959 and 1966. Please take note of that. This brings us to the presidential government. This is a type of democratic government in which the government has three arms: the legislative arms, which makes laws for the government, the executive arm, which carries out the laws, and the judiciary arm, which interprets the laws and punishes offenders. In this type of government, the president is the head of state as well as the head of the government. Nigeria has a presidential system of government. For instance, you are asked, what kind or type of government does Nigeria operate? Nigeria is operating a presidential what? System of government. And the United States of America also has the presidential government. How governments are organized? Countries organize their own governments in different ways. And they include the unitary system of government and the federal system of government. The unitary system of government is where power rests with the country. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye.